And it's quite extraordinary what David Seymour has achieved, because he's managing to get sort of more conservative, provincial, rural farmers to support ACT at the same time as doing very well with Auckland and Christchurch and Wellington Liberals. Yeah. And of course the strength of the National Party since it was founded has been that it had two wings, the Conservative wing and the Liberal wing, and they used to say that it needs both wings to fly. And it was always sort of felt that maybe ACT would focus on one of those, and it would try and become like an Auckland party and just win Epsom and Tamaki like Brooke Van Velden is trying to do, or it would sort of worry about guns and emissions trading schemes, opposition, and those sorts of things. But he's managed to do both, and that must be pretty scary for National, because it makes ACT a mainstream party.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, what impact is that having on National? Because can you fight on both flanks and look for the centre as well, where they need to find votes to beat Labour?
Well, I mean, the theory always is ACT gets the right and Greens get the left, and then National and Labour fight over the centre. But National has a problem, or it perceives it has a problem, because it thinks it's going to win about 38 electorate seats. And if it does, and if ACT gets 15% of the party vote, National will get few, if any, list seats. And that raises questions about Nicola Willis, Chris Bishop, Jerry Brownlee, Paul Goldsmith, James Christmas, their new high-flying lawyer that they've attracted to their list. And so National sort of thinks, well, obviously we don't gain anything from getting ACT votes. We only gain from getting Labour votes, but we dare not allow ACT to get up to 15%, because then we may be without list MPs. And also, of course, at that point, ACT's long-term goal is to be a 20% party, a rival to National, and National knows that and doesn't like it.
And it's well on the way to getting there. David Seymour has done an extraordinary job. I think anybody can recognise that, no matter where they are in the political spectrum. But why are these voters available?
New Zealand voters are very angry with the two main parties. The purple vote, the Labour National vote, is the lowest we've ever seen. Similarly in Australia, it was the lowest purple vote we've ever seen in the primary vote. And basically, and research supports this, and it's how Wayne Brown got elected. I was involved in that, Mayor of Auckland. New Zealand people, voters, perceive that they've been fed a whole lot of bullshit by Jacinda Ardern, let's do this and all that nonsense, kindness, by John Key, the step change, ambitious for New Zealand, or, and even to a lesser extent by Helen Clark with her, the knowledge wave and these sorts of things. And voters do not want to be treated like fools any longer by the two main parties, and that's why Labour had to get rid of Jacinda Ardern and go with the sausage roll guy. Well, but unfortunately, Christopher Luxon seems to be mimicking John Key's 2008 campaign, which was very successful. I'm ambitious for New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. But if he can't offer anything more than slogans, if he can't, where's the beef, essentially, then more and more people are going to go to ACT, because, for better or worse, ACT does say what it wants to do. And people, it's straight talking.
And the thing is, a lot of ACT's policies, for example, they never sort of run into reality, do they? Because they've always been a minor party.
That's right.
That's a big test for a party like ACT.
Yes, and they have a big decision. The Reid Research Newshub poll does suggest currently there will be a Labour-Green Murray Party government, and that is the most probable outcome according to the New Zealand Herald's poll of polls, so we might be getting ahead of ourselves. But if ACT and National had the numbers to form a government, ACT knows it dare not go back to being a poodle to National like it was for John Key and like it was for Jenny Shipley. ACT supported legislation that Elaine Kopu from the Alliance Party said she was happy with, and ACT would go along with that. And ACT does want to be a 20% party, and it knows it cannot afford to prop up a do-nothing John Key-style government. So they have come up with some ways to perhaps make it work, but and their preference absolutely is a coalition, but only in a coalition with a government that wants to do something, not governed
More of the
with
same.
working groups and platitudes. Yeah.
So just finally, what is the big risk or what is the risk, I suppose, for National and ACT in all of this?
Well, National's big risk is their leader, who was away out of New Zealand for 16 years. He left in '95 when the economy was growing at 6%. He missed all of the creation of Fonterra, all of the major treaty settlements, the Helen Clark government. He came back and John Key's the Prime Minister, and there's earthquakes in Christchurch.
Yeah,
and
he's
so
getting up to speed though.
Well, he is, but there is a lack of connection, and that it comes across as a lack of authenticity. For ACT, I think their risk is hubris. These are young people. By and large, they are highly intelligent people, they are committed people, and they've enjoyed enormous success over the last few years. Those are all good things, of course, but the combination of them also creates the risk of the pride before the fall, the hubris, and ACT will need to be very careful to keep their feet on the ground and keep talking common sense like they're trying to.
Keep that discipline.
Well, it's been the most disciplined political party we've ever seen in our parliament, given that they're all new and they're all have. A lot of them have a lot of extreme views. They're a small party on the fringe.
Yeah.
But they have looked after those new MPs, and there have been absolutely no scandals or stuff-ups at all over the last 2.5 years.
It is truly remarkable. There is so much to go yet. Thank you so much for coming in and lending your analysis, Matthew Hooton.
Pleasure.